Who am I to you? I see myself in main A, Pharaoh, or the Pharaoh. In Hebrew, there is no J sound, so it must be a Y. Well, what is a Y? A Y is like a V with a slash going downward. Seeing how Eve changed her perspective, you could argue it is the evening perspective, and it has to do with the eye of Ra, of Horus, etc. Lucifer, the inferior eye. These aren't the same interchangeable ideas. These are ideas that conflict with each other and inflict pain upon the person who is trying to figure out which one is which in more ways than one. So the A, E-S-U-S, the E becomes the I. A is us. Jesus, right? A is us. There's no J sound. Why should it be the Y? When the Y has the slash pointing downward, and the V is the upside down A without the slash. So the slash of the A becomes the slash of the V pointing downward. The downward perspective, the APEP perspective. The Garden of Eden. You understand? The garden story, the Eye of Ra. Shu, Tefnut, Adam, and Eve. They're called the first divine couple. Shu and Tefnut, and Atum is said to have made Shu, who in turn vomited out Tefnut, and that goes down to your belly, your rib area. And this is in the Memphite cosmogony, which was said to be placed by Main A, Narmer. Apep perspective is the Y versus the cat of Ra, the cat of Heliopolis. Haru is the heart of Ptah and Tat the tongue. The heart is the seat of intelligence. Ba of Ra, cat of Heliopolis. Heart of Idig-O. Eri, Jacob Eri, Jacob Eri, Ara. O Ba of Ra, the O of Biafra, the sun on the flag, the O of Biafra, the center, the heart. So if Haru is the heart of Ptah in one cosmogony, then that puts the heart of Africa as a significant Haru place. As I've described before, Shu, who is said to be the divine air, the atmosphere, right? His wife Tefnut, or Tun Fit, right? Your diet, deities, diet, right? Deity. So let me go to Shu. There's a lot of stuff here. You have to bear with me. Ra sent Shu as a lion to fetch Tefnut, his soulmate, because they had a shared soul, from Nubia, and he found her on the birthplace of Osiris, the mountain of the sunrise of Osiris. Okay, so Shu means to be empty. His temples were built facing his palace at Het Nebes, the eastern horizon. The sun rises in the east. And he had many temples. And Het Nebes is also called the four pillars of heaven. Okay. Adim and Eve Re, every, right? Eve Re. So he's also said to be divine intelligence and to embody Atum's supreme power. The god of light at times with a solar disk. He's equated with Ra Harakati in the New Kingdom. So once you kind of see how everyone sees it, you can kind of piece it together, who changed what to what and why. And it really goes back to the original and then comparing it from there. First before Nun and Atum. So there's a confusion and an argument over who came first. Was it Nun, was it Atum, or was it Shu? And I personally believe it was Ra. And Ra and Shu, Ra-Sa or Sa-Ra, the son of Ra. Okay, so, and that goes back to Haru. So there you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Ra, the Father. Sarah, Haru, the Son. And Shu, the Spirit, or the God of wind, air, the atmosphere. The fear. Okay, so the fear of God in the heart of the Pharaoh. So Atom is said to have spit him out. He created on a primeval hell and came from none. So that is from the 5th dynasty Heliopolitan cosmogony. So ask yourself, where are the first dynasty explanations, right? This goes back to Osiris as not such a benevolent deity. As time goes on, he falls out of grace and he's merged with Ptah, Seeker, and Apis, which becomes, I believe, the bull of Memphis, the Memphite, cosmogony. So there's different cosmogonies, different cult centers: Heliopolis, Memphis, Theban triad. Remember, I went over the Theban triad in the last video, which is Amun, Khans, and Mut. Okay? And of course, they would probably favor the Eve more because he threw Eve up out of his belly, but he comes from a higher place, the sun disk over Shu. So on the Mut papyrus, Shu holds the sun disk. In the 5th dynasty, must have been a key turning point. Atum seen to have replaced Ra, changing Shu's story. Okay, Atum is the great she, according to the Greeks, who masturbates, the Greeks among other people, who masturbates in his shadow. And I'll get into how this spread through the Roman Empire in a minute. Shu and Nut are separated from Atum and Nun, whose tears became man after reunification. The Theban puts Shu at the head and Tefnut as the concubine of God. So Amun, who goes around like Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat, switching forms or something, must take the form of Shu. Shu and Tefnut, parents of Jeb and his sister Nut, right, which is Tun. So Tun, fit versus just any old Tun. When Jeb usurps Shu, it becomes the devil's Tun, is another way to look at it. Nun is said to look after Shu and Tefnut at birth. So Tun fit or Tone fit, right? Tefnut, right? And that's backwards, okay? Okay, remember, just like Neckin is a word, the same forward and backwards. There's a certain word for that. I don't have time to look it up right now. Anyway. Ptah begot Nanunet, who begot Atum. Nanunet is said to be the female version of Nun. So when you get to the Memphite cosmogony, cosmos plus progeny is one way to look at it, cosmogony. Memphis is said to be the capital according to them. The Shabaka stone is key here, right? Chewbacca, Chukwuemeka, Chewbacca, right? Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ebo, Obi, and so on, Oba, right? Shabaka. Chukwuemeka, the C can be an S, right? Chukwuemeka, the great Chi, the great Shu. Okay? And of course, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? There's different ways to look at it. So Atum spat forth Shu, and Shu vomited Tefnut. Horus in Sabakasone names the land Tatenen. Horus was the heart of Ptah and Thought the tongue. Right? Tatenen can be seen as 8 Nun, or Nun 8. Okay? Shu was also the symbol of fresh beginning, the start, fresh air. Shu and Tefnut said to be the first divine couple. Shu took the solar disk into his arms. So when the solar disk is traveling, Shu is the atmosphere that takes it into his arms, and that is kind of pervasive in their different interpretations of the solar boat. His name means to raise, right? To raise somebody. My name is Chukwuemeka. I was raised in this certain Chukwu tradition, right? To raise. He also thrust himself between Jeb and Nut out of incestuous jealousy. In one version, he raises the sky. He's ordered to support Nut after she gets dizzy when she raised Ra to heaven in another version. An ostrich feather, Hyro of his name. The feather, remember the feather of Mayat. It's also the feather of Shu. Of course, the divine order comes down from the atmosphere, from the sky, like Jacob, Airy, like airy, right? A lion representation, or column of air. So he's represented as a lion because of the version where he is sent by Ra to fetch Tefnut, his soulmate, from Nubia. Apep's deserts spawn, desert children attack the shrines, and in the process, the gods defend them. They're unable to seize the shrines, and Shu loses his sight and becomes ill. So you have the Horus is the patron of the blind, and Shu as the patron of the blind, as things are starting to be superimposed. So obviously the main deities here are Ra, Shu, and Haru. Okay, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jeb violates Tefnut and seizes the throne. So the Shabaka stone is also seen as the Chewbacca stone, or Chewbacca's tone, right? Because of the S and the C. If you replaced it, for the same reason they replaced it with my name. All right, so the word draw. It started raining right now, ironically. You might be able to hear it in the background. Drawing on power, the word is to draw backwards, right? Raw leopard strike, animation cartoon. Now, let me skip through this. Literate demographics, demon graphics, cartoon, raw generation, hero worship, a channel, TV channel program, motion picture versus a cartoon. I think I went through this before. But the more important thing is the spread, right? So now ask yourself, well, what does this have to do with Rome? What does this have to do with Christianity? For those of you who know your history, you know that I went over how Hermes and Hermaphrodites, they merged to create Hermaphrodites, hermaphrodite deity, the Greek mysteries, okay? So Rome takes on these deities for hundreds of years openly. The Virgin and the Child, look up the Black Madonna, right? The Black Maiden No, or Black Maid and New, or Maid On, Maid On New, the priestess of On, she knew. Harpocrates, her pick rates, or her pick raise, her pack rat ease. You ever heard of the rat pack and how it's used in our culture? Okay, so the stunted growth, they chose Harpocrates, who was the stunted growth of Haru, which they stunt people's growth and try to keep, they try to intervene and keep me from growing mind, body, soul, and spirit. Isis was the goddess of Cleopatra. Caligula built a temple to Isis. It appears in Rome during his reign, during his time as emperor. The temple to Isis appears in Rome. Vespasian, okay, Isis and Serapis appear on imperial coins during his reign as Caesar. Caracalla, temple of Isis built in Rome. Okay, Ka-Ra-Kil-A is another way to look at his name. Hathor, Sebek, and Imhotep worshipped in empire and spread to every point of the empire in Rome. The Greek and Roman deities had become figures in stylized myths which bore comparatively little relation to the everyday concern of their worshippers. The myths were for entertainment, and the gods lack mystery. Egypt never lost their symbolic associations with all-important cycles of birth and death, agelessly significant. So, real briefly, I'm going to show you Shu. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, Shu. This is, basically where I get this from. You can pause it and read it, whatever. I'm not making this up. Okay, here's another one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here is pictures of Shu raising the atmosphere, right? Separating Jeb from Tefnut, and Jeb and Nut, and so on. Okay, you see the sexual imagery, and you can imagine how some people fixate on that. This is Shu going blind. Okay, now the last part I read is almost a direct quote from the end of this book. And of course, this is, from what I gather, these are white people that wrote this book. And here's the last paragraph. The Egyptians' God have owed much of their population outside Egypt and their strength in the face of other deities within Egypt to the sure faith that they offered life after death. The Greek and so on. So to make a long story short, I've been doing martial arts for a long time. I don't think I'm gonna have time to do this. Okay, it's 1997. This is my old Wingland shirt. I didn't do it in time. You see it's faded, my old Wingland shirt.